my name is Kaylani, and today I will be going over my newsletter for information processing and multiple intelligences. So here we have my newsletter. It's entitled An Aspiring Teacher's Newsletter by me, Kaylani Kraus. And for the contents, we have 6 articles here, and we'll go through them all in this video. They go back and forth between information processing and multiple intelligences. So I apologize that it's not in a specific order, but the video as a whole will have both theories encompassed in it. So here we go. The first article here is called Roadmaps to Success, Out with the Old and In with the New. And I guess I'll just go ahead and read the article, summarizing where I need to. But here it says, according to Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, our students can find success from any facet of life. Art, cooking, athletics, science, music, anything. We should encourage our students to be active learners in their education and know that active learning stems from a natural curiosity and what they are passionate about. As educators, our job is to encourage this natural curiosity and to provide students with opportunities to explore their passions through meaningful hands-on learning. And then in this picture, we have a little island and it says welcome, and there's buildings that represent different facets of learning. There's, math, music, science, reading, travel, an apple, whatever that could mean, maybe cooking. So then what does this theory mean for the traditional approach to learning that we grew up with? What about standardized tests and going to college for a STEM-related major that will rake in the dough? Well, out with the old and in with the new. This outdated view of what success is actually hinders our students. Tests are great for identifying where students need help, but we need to let our students know that there are multiple roadmaps to success. So this article was about Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences and how it's great because it challenges the view that there's only one type of way to be successful, and that's to be smart in either science or math. Well, out with that and in with, there are many, many roads to success. And success is not defined by how well you do on a standardized test. Moving on, we have here the mind as a computer. Is it a fair comparison? So the creation of the computer had a monumental impact on the field of cognitive psychology. For the first time, there was a widely understandable analogy that researchers could use in order to describe the processes of the human mind. In essence, researchers could compare the brain to a computer in the sense that it takes in information from the 5 senses, similar to how a computer takes in information from commands. Then, just as a computer runs algorithms in order to give an output, your mind undergoes various thought processes in order to come to a decision. The theory of information processing provides a basis for this analogy. This theory posits that we take in stimuli from our environment and analyze it, referred to as input processes. Then our brain manipulates and organizes the stimuli between our short-term and long-term memory. This is referred to as storage processes. Finally, we make a decision of an appropriate response to the input stimuli, referred to as our outputs processes. So if this computer analogy works so well, we have to ask ourselves, is this a fair comparison? Personally speaking, I don't think it is. For one, this comparison assumes that the brain can only work on one task at a time in a sequential order. But there have been multiple studies done that demonstrates the brain's ability to process multiple tasks at once. Additionally, comparing the human mind to computer completely dismisses the human capacity for emotional and motivational influences. If the human mind was like a computer, then it goes to say that it would be easily predictable. But that's not realistic. Humans do things that are against better judgment all the time. And this is because we don't solely process incoming stimuli, but we give stimuli meaning based on our prior experiences. So perhaps a better comparison would be the mind as an orchestra. Because like an orchestra, our mind functions in harmonies with its various parts and neurons and the rest of our body. Just as an orchestra isn't just a line of instruments playing one at a time, so is our mind. Additionally, an orchestra has feeling, intensity, is susceptible to change at any given time the conductor commands, just like our mind is susceptible to emotions and motivations. So this article pretty much pointing out that our mind as a computer is a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a useful analogy, but it might be leaving out some important parts. Moving on, we have a fun little anecdotal piece here. It says, Miss De Alva, what's cooking? Miss De Alva starts her school's first cooking class. So elementary school teacher Tani De Alva has just started the first cooking class at her school. When asked about her inspiration for starting the class, Miss De Alva had this to say: I wanted to give students the opportunity to explore different skills. Specifically, I wanted them to explore their naturalistic talents. Ms. De Alva's cooking class teaches students beginner cooking skills such as proper cutting etiquette, spice and ingredient recognition, and flavor profiles. She also wanted to integrate other skills into her class so that students could see the relatability of different skills. When asked about her approach to teaching such skills, Ms. De Alva responded, Well, I really want students to see how the different skills they learn in school connect to other facets of life. For example, cooking involves precise math for adding and measuring ingredients. It involves spatial skills for decorating and creativity for making new recipes. It even involves leadership skills if you want to lead a brigade of people. I wanted them to see that being able to cook is a type of intelligence, and that cooking is a passion they can pursue in life. So this article pretty much touching upon one of Gardner's 8 theories of intelligence, that being naturalistic, and also demonstrating that the intelligence don't have to operate independently of each other. They very much mesh and go together very often. So for example, like cooking, you do need math, you need spatial awareness, you need creativity. All the skills go together. Moving on, we have here a little advertisement. It says Psychology for All, a brief pitch, why every school should offer a psychology class. Offering psychology classes to students gives them the opportunity to hone their inter- and intrapersonal skills. Students need to learn how to be aware of their emotions as well as the emotions of others. Students would also benefit from learning that the changes and emotions they experience are valid, and there are other people in the world that share similar struggles, who develop into better people through a deep understanding of themselves and the world around them. So this little paragraph here is touching on 2 more of Gardner's theories, or Gardner's types of intelligences, which is inter- and intrapersonal. And it's a good advertisement for the fact that offering students the opportunity to take a psychology class gives them the ability to hone their inter- and intrapersonal skills, and perhaps opens the doors for them to wanting to be occupations such as counselors, social workers, psychologists. Again, showing students that there are multiple roadmaps to success. There are multiple passions that they can pursue. Next page. This article here is called Experience. We all have it. What is experience and why is it so important? So experience is defined as the quote-unquote practical contact with and observation of facts or events. So in simpler terms, experience is what you gain after you participate in an event or activity. If this is the case, then we all have experience, and not all experience is monumental or life-changing. We have experience watching TV, walking on the beach, going shopping. Literally, we have millions of experiences. So why is this concept of experience so important? Well, as educators, we need to consider the millions of experiences our students bring to the table, and we need to understand that not all our students share the same experiences. So in relation to page 2's article, The Mind as a Computer, students process incoming stimuli not only at face value, but through the lens of the experiences they've had. This type of processing is called top-down processing, which refers to perceiving information using one's existing beliefs and prior knowledge. For example, when first teaching students about letter sound and identification, teachers could use missing letter worksheets to help trigger proper associations. Showing students words that have missing letters like in the picture provided here, can help students with matching the letter to the sound. So for example, in this upper left-hand corner, the student sees that and knows that is a hen, and that's a picture of a hen, but there's a letter missing here, and I know what that word is, so what letter could be missing? Well, I have H, ha, and I have N, so I need the eh. I think that's an E, hen. Additionally, educators can use a student's experience to find out what information has been ingrained in their long-term memory and what information they still need to work on. For example, a teacher could ask their students what they remember from their history class last year. If their students are not able to retrieve certain events from their long-term memory, then the teacher knows those students need more rehearsal time with that topic. Likewise, the teacher may ask about something the students should have learned 2 years ago. Some students may be able to retrieve bits and pieces of what they were taught, but the teacher may find that most of the information was lost over time. So in that sense, the student probably didn't actually learn that material. They just learned to remember it for a test and then throw it out. Overall, teachers must use a student's prior knowledge and experience to understand where they're coming from and to guide them in creating more meaningful experiences that they will remember for years to come. So this kind of touches on both information processing and multiple intelligences in the sense that a student is better going to retain information if you give them experience with it. So you can either have them repeat it over and over again, that's experience. You can give them hands-on experience, actually doing something, but just knowing that this experience will help push them to remember, like, oh, hey, I remember I did that, or I learned that before. And then lastly, we have, what did we learn about again? Why your students forget and how to help them remember. So kind of going off what we were reading about previously. So as stated before, we receive information via our 5 senses. This information breezes through what is called our sensory memory. And unless a part of the information catches our attention, that stimuli is quickly analyzed and forgotten. For example, your student could go through a whole year of your class and not know any of their classmates' names. This is because seeing their faces went through their sensory memory and didn't catch their attention long enough to remember the name. Happens to all of us. If a stimuli passes through your attention threshold, then it is transferred to short-term memory. For example, if your student actually talks with someone, then they're matching a face to an actual person and they will, at least in that instance, know their name for that brief period of time. This memory, or short-term memory, is memory that is currently being used. So for example, I know I'm talking to so-and-so. Now the tricky part is to have students transfer this information into long-term memory. So how can we do that? Well, one way is through elaborate repetition. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. So if you have a student practice a skill over and over and over again, they're bound to remember it. However, the question is, will they remember the information and its context, or will they just remember the straightforward facts? And this brings us to another way to promote the retainment of knowledge, as previously mentioned, which would be to provide students with meaningful experiences where they can apply and reflect on their knowledge. Ultimately, if your students feel like they don't have a reason to remember the information you're teaching them, then they won't pay attention long enough for their brain to even process the information in their short-term memory, let alone their long-term memory. So one of our jobs as educators is to give our students a reason, show students how what they are learning matters, and then they'll remember this knowledge with a much deeper appreciation. So here again, touching on information processing theory and the fact that it may not be enough to just give students information over and over and over again until they realize it. You really need that deep processing through experience or reflection or interaction for them to really connect with the material and be able to retrieve it for later use. Yes, so that is my newsletter. Again, a newsletter to aspiring teachers, has facts and stories and all that good stuff. Thanks for listening.